Hey, welcome back to another weekly update. We're trying out a new angle here. I gotta not touch this desk or else it's gonna shake the camera. So this week, as I said, we made a lot of progress this week. I finished everything that I was reading. We've moved on to some new books. I have a lot of thoughts about both what I finished and the new books that I'm reading. So probably not a long one, but there's some thoughts here, and we'll have a great time. So, reading first, as always, I finished Dungeon Crawler Carl. I liked that a lot more than I thought I was going to. It was very interesting. If you haven't read it, it's about the apocalypse, and an alien race comes and essentially forces all remaining humans into a dungeon crawler uh, real life sim, and you just have to survive. That's it. I think I mentioned this last week, but if you like RPG style, like Elements RPG style progression and leveling and stuff like that, this is really going to hit that little niche for you, and I think you'll really like it. If you don't like violence, if you don't like kind of darker themes, this is going to have some challenges, but it also isn't really dark themed. It's very interesting that way, in that it's dark and yet it's also not so dark. What I mean by that is it's very lighthearted. It doesn't take itself very seriously, so it can be kind of abrupt and whiplashy in that way. But I found that kept me really engaged. So I'm really looking forward to the second one, to the point where that's kind of what I want to read right now. And I just haven't picked it up, and I've got some other things that I'm reading that we'll get to. So Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman, great read if you like those themes. If you don't, might be a skip for you, but I really think it might surprise some people. So maybe give it a shot. The other book that I finished this week was Barrons. I finished that yesterday, and I think I was a little bit lukewarm on it last week. This week, I ended up thoroughly enjoying it. I've I've realized something about myself. I'm kind of obsessed with food, crazy. So Barron's hits this really interesting thing where I learned a lot about where food comes from, and how it's produced and distributed in particularly America. It's not necessarily for the faint of heart. It has, some implications in it that are not necessarily positive. So if you're looking for a feel good, it's not Barron's. So skip it if you're looking for feel good. But if you want to understand a little bit more about the food distribution systems in America and maybe some of the issues with it, definitely a good read. There's another book that I kind of see in the same vein called The Wizard and the Prophet, which is one of my all-time favorite nonfictions. It is a book about the progression of grain and how the food system in America came to feed as many people as we do, and it really kind of proliferated around the globe as well. But Barron's is a very interesting take on that, in that there's many monopolies in America, and many uh, food related monopolies that are not really a positive. I thought that the book laid out some really interesting things that we could do about it, some really simple things that you can do on a daily basis, and some really complex things that may or may not happen in the future, but would probably benefit most people if it did. So, what am I actually reading now? I started Howling Dark, which is the second book in the Sun Eater saga. I am I'm so lukewarm on this series, and I I'm kicking myself for that. I should really love this series. It's one that I think is in the vein of Red Rising, in the vein of maybe Dune, stuff like that. Two of my favorites. There's just something that's not gripping me. So that one I may stop that one at some point. I'm slogging through it right now. If you loved these books, let me know what you loved about them, because I I'm just having a little bit of trouble, and I've seen so much good about these. I want to keep going, and I like where the story's headed, but there's something about um, Christopher Reducios. I'm butchering that. His writing style that doesn't connect with me quite as much. But that said, I realize I'm in the minority. I know that it connects with a lot of people, so I'm trying to figure it out and I'm trying to read through it, but it's not landing for me. So I'm going to give it a little bit more try. I did finish book one and I liked it, but I did kind of have to slog through it. I wholly did not dislike it. It was just, I was surprised. I thought it would be one of those that I loved. If I don't, if I don't continue with that, I'll probably move on to, um, I don't know what I'll move on to. Editing Tyler here. I did end up uh, taking a break from Howling Dark. I think I might get to it at some point, but it just wasn't connecting with me. So instead, I am currently reading Old Man's War. This is a reread for me, but I read that a long time ago. So I just really wanted something that I knew was lighthearted and that I liked. I'll probably get to book 2 of Dungeon Crawler Carl. That came in yesterday. So I'll probably get to that eventually, but I just wanted something lighthearted. That's what I was feeling right now. So Old Man's War instead. I started a nonfiction today called Cultish. Um, I almost grouped together Barrons and Cultish right after another because Cultish is hitting us something else that I've realized that I'm kind of obsessed with, and that's words. I love words. I love to talk about meanings of words and how words change and how words shape the way that we think about things. How we communicate says so much about us. I'm talking about my obsession with words. That's not really what Cultish is about, but it is about language and the language of cult and the language of how we define things like that. I'm pretty early on in it, but I can tell that I can tell that it's going to be something that I enjoy. So very excited about that one. I think that's about an 8-hour audiobook. So that's one I'll probably be done with in the next week or so. I've got some travel coming up, so I'll likely do a lot of audiobook and a lot of print reading as well. And we had such a good run of Dust and Dungeon Crawler Carl. You know, you read 2 things that you really love. Um, Sometimes, no matter what you read next, it's got a high bar. You know, my inclination is to read something lighthearted. That's what's really doing it for me right now. I always jump back from kind of a lighthearted to maybe a stronger prose or something with larger words, more deep themes. I find that keeps my brain active and keeps my brain kind of thinking differently. Okay, on to some book news. I saw something that I got excited for, and that the Murderbot series is coming to Apple TV Plus. Now, I don't know anything other than that. I just saw a cover with the little sticker that says coming to Apple TV Plus. I think Apple's been doing such cool things with some of these book adaptations. As I mentioned, I really liked the Silo adaptation. The Blake Crouch adaptation I thought was also pretty good. Foundation, I know a lot of people like. Foundation was kind of a hit or miss for me. I remember having a good time with it back when I read it, but I don't remember a whole lot of it. So the TV show kind of disconnected for me, and I haven't even finished all of it. So short list on book news this week and adaptation news. I just didn't see a whole lot else that really caught my eye. If you saw something that caught your eye, let me know. I'll continue to keep an eye out and we'll get more of that next week. So on to writing update. I crossed the 50% mark. Confetti. Woo. That was exciting. The reason I may not be quite as excited as maybe I should is as I mentioned, I do think that we're going to be a little bit longer. So I'm kind of seeing that as the 40% mark. So I'm pushing it a little bit. Um, I've scaled back on my goal words per day. I was finding that I was racing through and just not getting as much quality as I would like out of some stuff. So the positive on that is I feel like a lot of what I'm writing is very quality, and I'm very excited about all of the things that I'm writing each day. The downside is that there's just not as much. Um, there's not as much. The downside is that there's not as much progress each week. I'm willing to make that trade-off, um, mainly because I've had some good ideas and some good things that are coming to fruition. So I'm very excited about that. I'm also doing a little bit more kind of, I'll call it editing as I go. I'm just making sure that things make sense. I'm taking notes on some things to, go back and tidy up or anything like that. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it right now. I think that's going to work in the long run. Um, this novel, it really is, it's something that I'm excited about, but it really is a teaching moment for myself. So, I don't know if it's going to see the light of day or not. My goal is that it will, but um, I'm just trying to keep my expectations where they should be and do the best thing that I can for me right now. But that's made me excited, and that's made me want to continue on. I'm sure you all know how it is. You're excited about something, the ideas are flowing, and it's just going. And now it's becoming its own thing. It's becoming its own beast with its own thoughts and its own character plots. Um, I think I've mentioned before, but it really is a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, and I'm trying to seamlessly mix those because I love both of those genres so much. They always get mixed up together. Writing this week, I anticipate another couple percentages, maybe 5% or so. As I said, I'm slowing down a little bit, but I'm really happy with that, and I'm really happy with the progress that's being made with that. Really happy with. Really happy with. I have hit such a busy part of my schedule. The mid-year review is still coming. I hope that it will still be a mid-year review. It may be a 60% of the year review by the time I actually get around to it, but still stay tuned for that. I have some stuff ready for it, ready to go. I just need to get it filmed and get it edited. That takes a while. So I'm still working on that. That is it for this week's update. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you next week.